I left everything going. I had my last, when I got out of the Navy, after these 2 or 3 years, I stopped. Boeing handed me my paycheck. I still have it. But,
well, when you were in the construction business, were you involved in interstate construction through Butte?
yeah, not through Butte, no. The interstate program, about the time the interstate program really got going, we got some work up in Canada. And I spent 14 years up in Canada working on the Trans-Canada Highway, which was similar to the interstate highway. But we were mainly in the paving business then. And the interstate program involved the complete grade gravel, plant mix, everything, But we weren't that big, and fit better working with.
So was that Shannon Construction up there?
Yeah. Well, when we went up there, we formed a company, Shannon and Kane Limited. You had to, be a Canadian company to bid up there. Kind of makes me laugh about this article in the paper. We're mad about the Canadians from Edmonton coming down and getting this highway job up here. Going to take all the money and send it to Edmonton. Well, anybody with 2 suits of underwear on and eyes in their behind and know that the guy's going to pay wages in the Montana and buy everything in the Montana. He must be registered in Montana.
But that company was a partnership between you and Shannon.
Yeah.
So,
and it worked out good for me. I was basically on my own up there, and there was too much in the company down here. There was too much family.
so how much of the Trans-Canada Highway did you pay?
Well, we didn't, lengthwise, we didn't do a lot of length, but we stayed in one area. We probably rented up about 1 million tons of plant mix we put on the Trans-Canada between, most of it was from Banff, up through Lake Louise and down into British Columbia, down to a town called Golden there, and then we worked from between Banff and Lake Louise. There's a Eisenhower Junction, they called it, and that highway takes off from the Trans-Canada, comes down through Fairmont in Canada, comes down. We did a lot of work on that, but mostly our work was the base work on this section and then that section, then come back and do some more on that. It was good work.
So when you were in the construction industry, you were not real familiar with the personalities in the construction industry here in Butte, the labor unions, all that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, see, we didn't go up to Canada until '54. And from the time I got out of the service, when I got out of the service, I came back to Butte, and in my mind, I told myself I'm not going back to work for Shannon. I go someplace else. I mean, family didn't, Well, anyway, I wandered around until Shannon grabbed me and put me to work. I went to work for Shannon. Well, then we worked. See, just prior to the interstate program, there was some big jobs on what was the old number 10 highway, like down at Rock Creek Lodge down there this side of Missoula. We did a job down there, about 10 miles long, Clinton back towards Rock Creek. And then they rebuilt the highway west to here, practically to interstate standards before it was even an interstate. Then they did it an interstate, but we were involved in that. Then we did, after the war, the REA program got pretty active, the rural electrification. And Shannon had done some of that work prior to the war down in the Bitterroot. So we bid a lot of that around here. We did some of that in the big hole over around Townsend. That all involved the labor unions out of Butte. And I was always in the operators union until after the war. When I went into the service, you turned in your union card and you got a withdrawal, a red, white, and blue withdrawal card. Well, I got my withdrawal from Great Falls, and idea was when you got back out of the service, you turned it in. You were a member in good standing, you didn't have to pay any dues or anything. You got your card back. Well, up in Great Falls, there was a savage of a business agent up there that fell in love with the secretary of the union, and they went south with the money, and to cover everything up, they threw all the records in the Missouri River, including all the cards that they had on file that people who were in the service. Well, when we all got out of the service, our cards weren't there. And being a charter member of the union here, I wanted my original card. The way they solved the problem was they just issued new cards to everybody with a new number, you know. Well, it was just a little thing, but it was a point of honor with me that I wanted my card. Well, the business agent, I kept paying the dues. Yeah, I'm going to get your card. Old Claude, the hell was his last name? I'm going to get your card. Well, he never did. He always wanted to give me this other card. See? Well, it wasn't because I was intelligent or knew anything that I didn't want to do it. It was just bullheadedness. But as it turned out, if I had stuck with it, it would have been to my benefit, because when they finally set up a pension system, well, the date you joined the union made a lot of differences to them. But I didn't get in on that, because when I went to Canada, I talked to them and I said, well, I'm going up there, I'm going to be part of the company, and that's against the union rules, and so I got a withdrawal, and that was the end of it.
So you were a charter member of which union?
The operating engineers.
Local number?
378.
Do you remember, when you say a charter member, you mean you were there when it started?
Yeah.
So when was that? Tell us about that.
Well, that was about 1935. Shannon built 3 structures over, well, they're in the pit now, on East Park Street, when East Park went, or down where the pit is now and into Materville. There was 3 railroad overpasses. He built them, and I went to work there, and it was in the summer, and that's when I joined the union. And later on, we paved Montana Street. I worked on that. In fact, that was an operator's job. And up in Great Falls, on the east base, I had to belong to 3 unions to hold one job, which was, in my mind, a mistake the unions made. I belonged to the operators, the machinists, and the boilermakers, because that was the way they signed the agreement up there. Didn't work very good, but it was the way it was. There was always a union dispute between the operators and the machinists or mechanics, because most operators were operating like a crusher or a hot plant or something, and they were repairing it too. Well, it was always a jurisdiction. Yeah, but at that time, to settle it, you belonged to, everybody had money to burn, you know, and the union dues weren't that steep then.
So when you were up in Canada for those years, and then you come back to Butte, and you're working here in Butte at the Highway Department?
Well, when I came back from Canada, the reason old man got to be retirement age, and he decided to sell the outfit. He had a son, Chuck. Chuck wasn't interested at all in pursuing the construction business. So the old man decided to sell everything, and I helped him dispose of a bunch of stuff, and then I made the first mistake I ever made in my life. I went to work selling insurance, and I read all the big print, started selling it. Then I read the small print and decided it wasn't worth a damn and quit. And that's when I went to work for the Highway Department. Prior to, well, the end of the Canadian operation was not very pleasant, to be honest with you. We were up there as contractors and subcontractors. We subcontracted a lot of paving and did very well at it. But the old man was the kind that, well, if this is great, twice this, it'll be twice as great. Well, he decided that he wanted to bid with a Canadian company on a job up in British Columbia, north of Dawson Creek. And we had been subcontractors under this company. It worked good. But this company they were kind of a shady bunch as far as I was concerned. And I think I had a better look at them being up there all the time than the old man did, just coming up there once every 2 months or something. I tried to talk him out of it, and this is how fate treats you. This job came up in British Columbia. He was down here, and he had taken my 2 sons and 3 other grandsons and his wife and gone to Yellowstone Park. He was in Yellowstone Park at Mammoth or Old Faithful, I don't know where in Yellowstone Park. This outfit in Canada that he wanted to bid with called up Madeleine and to get a hold of him. Unfortunately, she was able to get a hold of him. And he got a hold of these people, canceled out all the Yellowstone Park operation. He loaded the kids up, packed the car up, drove into Butte, dumped them off, drove all night up to Edmonton, flew into Vancouver, drove to Calgary, flew into Vancouver and got to the letting 20 minutes before they opened the bids, put the bid in, unfortunately got the job. Well, they went up there, and of course, he was the type that thought that this help was available anywhere. Well, good help is not always available anywhere, especially up there. So he gets this job going, and he needs this help. Well, he and I didn't see eye to eye on it, and he's going to borrow half of the help I had. Spent 10 years breaking in and getting going, and I wouldn't go for that. Then he did take some of it. But eventually, to make a long story short, I finished the job we were subcontracted on under this company, and I had everything paid for, all the bills were paid, everything was fine. I had $50,000 coming from that they held back. I thought everything was great. I didn't have all the bills paid for. I had about $10,000 worth of bills to pay, but I had $50,000 coming. Well, then it turned around that they wouldn't pay the 50 because this joint venture job was in the hole. They're going to use that 50. Wasn't really legal, but when they wrote up the partnership agreement to bid this job, they wrote it up that each partner should share equally in the profit. Never mentioned a loss. Well, they had a sharp lawyer that said up there, well, nobody's sharing in the loss, just mentioned it. Well, that took 5 years of court to solve that problem, and we finally got the money, but the $50,000 would have been $100,000 by that time, used right. So it wasn't a good setup anyway, but this contractor we were working with, the Lord kind of must look at things like that, because he had a son that was quite a bit younger than I was. His son got killed in an airplane crash. This company had a lot of money. They owned all kinds of land up in northern Saskatchewan, cattle all over it. The old man went out to count his cows one day, and a bull gored him and killed him. So all their money didn't do very much.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, when you